From the Twin Cities PBS archives, a conversation with Leeann Chin, originally broadcast in 1992.
Starting in her late 40s, she turned the seemingly overdone concept of a Chinese restaurant into a successful food empire. Born in Canton, China, she moved to Minnesota in 1956. She likes to shop as a form of relaxation. Our guest is Leeann Chin. Leeann Chin, when did your cooking become a public affair?
That was, 20 years ago. I started just giving away recipes.
To who?
Friends. That time I was still sewing. I have just making at home and lots of my clients. And I entertain a lot because my sewing clients became really good friends, and they always bring presents, and I feel like I should show my appreciation, so I entertain a lot. That's how I started.
So your reputation spread, and then?
Yes. Then I start teaching, and it's just a short time. People find out I'm teaching, and I have call from different community schools, and there was a learning center that General Mills started by Southdale. They call Create a Learning Center, and then I teach there for a long, long time until the day before I opened the restaurants.
Mm-hmm. So how do we get from being a well-known cook in town and having a cookbook to deciding to open a restaurant?
It took a long, long time, and I told my husband today if he would let me buy a house, have a big kitchen, I'd probably still teaching. I enjoy that so much, but he won't let me. So I looking at a place. It's a professional place that I can teaching. I can catering, and I just want a big kitchen. So I start looking for a place I can do more, and that's and look for a long, long time, and they're so expensive. Just not enough money for paying the rents and buying all the equipment. So that's then. At Bonaventure, and that time the mall was new, just built, and they were looking for a cooking instructor. They want a cooking school there. So I said, "Oh, that's wonderful." But after you talk, and it's just so much money, and I said, "Well, I couldn't make enough money to pay for it." So finally, after a year talking to them, they says, "Why don't you open a restaurant? That's more business." Because everyday business, you probably can pay for all the kitchen equipment you needed. So I said, okay, let's talk about that. And that's how the restaurant started.
What did your husband think?
He was against it completely. He said, you're a woman, and even men have hard time running a restaurant, and who would come work for you? Because Chinese cook and they don't take instruction from women, especially you, he said. You never in business before.
What did you say?
Well, I grew up in an old-fashioned home. I'm not supposed to talk so much. So I didn't say anything, and I just try to find a way that I don't need him to help me. But I need him to sign because the house have his name, and I need the house to borrow money. And then I try to tell him that I can do it, but it took long time before he would sign the paper. Long time.
How long?
About 6 months. So I talked to the bank for a long time, and we finally, I don't know what happened. He finally signed it. But he still don't think I can do it.
Still now or still then?
Then. And now he just think I'm lucky.
What do you
Yes.
think about that?
I think I'm lucky too, and I've been working hard. He didn't know I have to work. He think I'm just go out, have fun, and talk to people, because every time he stopped by, I was just sitting down and talking to people. But he didn't go there hardly. But every time he was there, I'm sitting down talking to people. He didn't think I have to work. I'm just so lucky. Business just there.
But how do you feel towards him, even now, when you've been so successful, and he
It's-
says to you, you were just lucky?
I already kind of set my mind a long time ago that many Chinese men, they grow up in a home that they don't respect women, because years ago, even my mother never allowed to even get out the door when she was young and never have opportunity to go to school. So she doesn't know how to read or write. And lots of women are like that, and they just grow up to get married and be a good housewife. And that's, or in my generation, that lots of my friends don't have parents like that. I still have. He still think we live, old time, that you have to just be a good housewife. That's all my duty is. Beyond that, then you just ask for trouble. Because if you're out there so much, people would talk about you're a social climber, or you're not a good wife because you're out there doing business. And all that, and he says, people would talk, and that's just not a good, you forget your duty. But I already make up my mind that it doesn't matter what he said, I have to do it my way. Because it took me a long time to think that, because my children are grow up now, and I know what I'm doing, what I want to achieve, and I just do it. But sometimes it's hard, because you want to make peace at home. You don't want it make him angry. Lots of times, even I getting award and getting really good recognition, I don't go home and tell him, because I don't want him to think that I do better than him. Lots of those things. And he find out from somebody else, and he said, why didn't you tell me? I said, if I tell you that, you just says, well, no wonder you're out there and help people do things, and you forget who you are. And I have lots of times like that. He told me that, so I ended up don't even tell him some really happy moment and really happy things. Thank goodness I have all my children, then I can tell them, and instead him.
And they are supportive of you?
Really supportive.
Do you think that you were able to do the work, open the restaurant because of them, because they were Americans and they had a different attitude?
Yes, and I think it's this country too, that I don't have to worry that I'm doing different than somebody else. Because in this country, that if you want to work hard, you can do almost anything. If you have a desire to do something. It took a long time though, but I have trust that if I work hard, it will get there.
So have you had a life of great success in the last, 15 years, but a life that's also been full of marital separation?
I have both. Sometimes it's hard, but sometimes it's really fulfilling, especially when I have such a good friends with the children. I think I have. I don't know what they think, but I think I have.
How many children do you have?
I have 5.
Mm-hmm. Any of them work with you?
Only one.
How's that?
Wonderful. She helped me a lot, because she have really good natured, and she would let me tell what to do all the time. But once in a while I back off a little bit, but but she's really been a big help.
So you like being the boss?
I do. I never was the boss for so long that because I can't even wash dishes right when my husband stands next to me. It's even today. When I put dishes in the dishwasher, he would have to do it over. But he doesn't do it if I'm there. But if everything I do, he have to tell me that I didn't do it good enough.
Do you walk around angry all the time at him?
Yes. Because it seems like how much I try to prove to him that I don't need to be his pupil anymore. But he wouldn't. He think that you're always somebody's pupil. You always have to learn.
What does he do for a living?
He's been retired for, it's a long time, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
He worked for the University of Minnesota.
Doing what?
He was a technician at the photo lab.
How was it that you married him?
His aunt and my aunt was neighbors.
In China?
In China.
Where in China?
In
Where?
Canton. We call Guangzhou now. And it just became a communist government, and it was great because then I have a chance to go to Hong Kong. He lived in Hong Kong, and I was in Canton.
When did you go to Hong Kong?
I went to Hong Kong to meet him.
But did you go because of the revolution in China?
No, because my aunt says you should go meet my neighbor's nephew because you would like him. So I went to Hong Kong because it's a good excuse to leave China.
What happened when you got to Hong Kong?
I met him, and after...
What'd you think?
Well, it's wonderful because my family is business. My father have restaurants and grocery store. It's different because his family is more educated family and more, I didn't know that, but I just feel like they are smarter, they are a lot more, they're a lot smarter, appealing, that is so different than my family. So after 6 months, we got married, and I didn't know that they were they supposed to be higher class than the business people.
Do you think that they were disappointed that their son married you?
It wasn't at first, but after they keep telling me that it's just because the country changed, and that's why I have opportunity to marry them. And if it was back before the country wasn't in trouble and wasn't all that mixed up, that I would never have chance to step into their family. And it took me a long, long time to know that, doesn't matter anymore. If I'm not good enough, too bad, but I am good enough. And for a long time I thought I have so much to learn, and I would never be a good person in front of I still not be good enough in there because I didn't have the rich parents.
Well, when did it change inside you that you were able to say to yourself, I am good enough?
As soon as I know how to make money. This is really funny. It's scary that you are raised family and you are married, but you have this fear that what if I can't stand it, I run away. I can't. I keep thinking about it, but I can't. But as soon as I start making money, and I have this comfort that I don't need anyone. I just, if I, and another thing is I have so many friends. And it was wonderful that I'm not all that bad.
Tell me, when you started making money and saying to yourself, I'm not all that bad, did you think about leaving your husband?
Many times.
Why didn't you?
The children were little. I keep having more children.
But even with your success here with the restaurants, your children were pretty much grown by then, right? When you opened your first restaurant, how old were your children?
Well, the youngest one's only 16.
When the restaurant was opened?
Yes.
Okay.
But still, I don't know. I guess I was too afraid that anything going to happen, that one of my children would get angry with me, or maybe he changed his mind. I keep hoping that I'm not the person who have to be watching and teaching and just nobody leave me alone, that I am a person, not just like a person you have to be watched all the time. I was hoping he would change, but it's no chance it will change.
How do your children feel about his attitude?
It's funny, no matter what is their father, he behaved really well when the children's around. Because everything he said, it was doesn't sound right. They scream at him before I have a chance to even do it. So that's kind of nice. So you see, that's really hard. Even the children know that I have hard time with him, but nobody say, "Come live with me," or "Just go away," or do whatever. They were supportive. They listen to me when I complain. I complain a lot, but still, they're father.
Do your children all have professions, including your daughters?
Yes.
What do they do?
My oldest daughter is a lawyer, and then my son is a professor at DePaul University.
Teaching what?
Math. And then the next one is when she finished college, and she's been working for me the last 12 years. And next one is a doctor, live here. And the youngest one is in Los Angeles and work for Disney's. She's a manager for promotion for new films.
So they're all very accomplished.
I am really grateful that they really work really hard for get their profession.
So your father was also a restaurateur?
Yes.
And a cook?
Yes.
Did you learn cooking from him or from your mother?
I learned a little bit because I learned why I shouldn't learn a little bit. I learned a lot when I was little because I always interested in cooking, but I never allowed to be in the kitchen. My father talked about cooking and talk about food a lot, every meal. Every meal we can't just eat, we have to listen to his lecturing every meal. I hated that time, but I didn't know I was learning so much from it. My mother never cooked when I was little. It's because when my father's business, we have cooks, we have people take care of house and all that. But since the communists, that nobody have help, nobody have enough money for anything, so she learned how to cook. It surprised me that how good a cook she is now, because she just come live with me 3 years ago, and she do all the cooking now. She's a wonderful cook.
So you don't cook now at home?
No.
How's that?
Wonderful. The wonderful part is when I cook, my husband criticizes every meal forever, even now. But when my mother cooked, he didn't dare to complain. He just eats. So it's wonderful. And I used to hate to go home for dinner, not even have to cook. After I cook, he never just sit there and happy to eat. Once in a while, he would say, "Oh, this is good." Not really often. So it's great.
Was it hard for you to leave your parents and then even leave China?
Oh, not at all. Not at all, because it's been so long that everything is hard. I can't be myself. Even I was in junior high, I helped my father so much. He never tell me I know how to do anything. And when I go to school, all my friends can go to movie and do things. And I never can. I have to go home and put my book down and have to go to work right away. We live in the upstairs of the grocery store. It's a pretty big grocery store. My father always need help, so I have worked so much. But the thing is, you don't get any result from you working hard, even you was just 12 years old and 13 years old. All this is you have to do more and learn more. And also, it was kind of, everybody talk about how much you can do in Hong Kong and how much more opportunities. So always looking for a place I can do more.
How is it that you came to Minnesota when you and your husband left Hong Kong?
My husband's sister live here. They are in restaurant business for a long time.
So if they were in the restaurant business, couldn't they help you out when you wanted to start?
Oh, they look at me like I'm just a country dumb girl. That's how they look at me.
And how do they look at you now?
They're just polite. They probably think I'm just lucky.
You've been very successful. Have there been any, what?
I have ways to go yet. I don't know what's successful. I still have to do a lot to, excuse me. It's still lots of worry, and I don't know what successful is. I just keep doing more. But it's still a lot to do yet.
And what do you think about your own skills now?
I feel easier to want to do something, and it's because of experience. I did so much, and easy for me to make recipes, and easy for me to cook a good meal, and it is really a good comfort that because for a long time, even I cook good meal when I have company, and then my husband and my mother, told me that where was she been that you call this as a dinner?
Well, they were wrong.
At first I didn't know. It took me a long time that I know they're wrong, and I know they say things like that, thinking that I never have opportunity to go to really fancy restaurant or have a really good cook to cook food for me to taste what is good food. They just imagine that because they don't really know me, they don't know my family. And because they heard that I grew up in a home that my father was in the food business. So that never was good enough.
But now you know they were wrong.
Yes, but it took me a long time though, long time. But it's okay, it gave me something to search for what is really a good food, what is a good way to do things. If they wasn't pushing me like that, then I'd probably just be grateful to be here, to be a mother and be take care of the household things.
Leeann Chin, thank you very much for being with us on Portrait.
Thank you.
Funding for this TPT Archival podcast was made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund,